Ladies and gentlemen, in this instructional video, you'll learn how to graph vertical and horizontal lines from equations. You will need your math notebook to take notes, a pencil, some graph paper, and a ruler or straight edge to connect some points. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take a minute to gather your supplies, grab your graph paper and your notebook, and let's jot down some examples. Here is our first one. Y equals -4. Hopefully, you see that this equation looks different than any other equation that we've graphed so far, in the sense that we only have one variable, just the letter y. So when that happens, I would like to encourage you to create an XY table to graph the equation. So to create an XY table, given the equation y equals -4, I'm going to have you put 3 -4s in the y column. -4 because that's the number that's in the equation, and I pick three of them because we'll plot 3 ordered pairs. 2 points make a line, and then hopefully the third point will verify whether or not we graphed in the proper direction. All right, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, you can select any value you choose for x. I will choose the points -2, 0, and 2 for my x values. You can choose the exact same ones as I do. You can choose different ones, but what we will find is that regardless of what values you choose for x, we will still graph the exact same line. Now, previous to graphing in slope-intercept form, you're used to finding the m and finding the b, then graphing. I'm going to ask you to work in reverse. Create the table, we're going to plot the points, and then we will calculate the slope and the y-intercept. So, now we need to plot these 3 ordered pairs on the graph. So just as a reminder, these are my 3 ordered pairs. So -2, -4, so I'm going to go left 2 and down 4. That's my first point. 0, -4 means I don't go left or right, and I just go down 4. And then 2, -4 means I go to the right 2 and down 4. All right, so hopefully you can see that my line is starting to come together, and it's starting to look like a horizontal line. All right, I'm going to put some arrows on both sides of that line right there. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and calculate my slope of my y-intercept. Slope, I can calculate by calculating rise over run. So I'm going to pick 2 points on my line. I'll just do this point and this point. I highlighted them in yellow. My rise is 0. And my run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 0, my run is 4. 0 divided by 4 is 0. So my slope, my line has a slope of 0. Now I need to calculate the y-intercept. And if you remember, the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis, and here's my line. These 2 points cross right here at -4. It is not a coincidence that the y-intercept is the number that's in my graph. So my slope of this horizontal line is 0. As a matter of fact, the slope of every horizontal line will be 0. My y-intercept in this case is -4. All right, here's our next example. X equals 7. So again, this equation looks a little different because there's only one variable. So I'm going to ask you to create an XY table, just like we did in the last example. So we're going to work backwards. We're going to create the graph, and then we're going to calculate the slope and the y-intercept. In this case, since we have x equals 7, we're going to put in 3 7s for x. And I did not mean to put -7 there. So we're going to put 3 7s. 7, 7, and 7. Again, just like in the last example, I can pick any value for y. You're going to see that I will probably always pick -2, 0, and 2. You can pick any value you want. If you pick different values, we again will still have the same line if we graph them correctly in the end. So now I'm going to plot 7, -2. So I'm going to go right 7 and down 2. Then I'm going to plot 7, 0. So I'm going to go over 7 and stay there. And then 7, 2. So I'm going to go over 7 and up 2. I'm going to grab my straight edge and I'm going to go ahead and draw in my straight line. Put some arrows on there. And hopefully you can see at this point that I have a vertical line. All right, now I'm going to go work backwards and I'm going to calculate my slope and my y-intercept. So I'm going to pick 2 points on the line. I'm going to pick the 2 outer points, but you can pick any 2 points you want. I'm going to calculate my rise. So that means I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. And because when I went up 4, I was on the first dot, which means I have to run 0. 4 divided by 0 will give me an error on my calculator. In fact, you can't take any number and divide by 0. No number divides by 0. So when this happens, we need to write undefined. So my slope is undefined. My y-intercept is the point where this line crosses this line. Hopefully you can see that these two lines are parallel and they never intersect. So that means I don't have a y-intercept. So I'm going to write none. I'm not going to put 0 because that would indicate that the line crosses the y-axis at 0. In this case, they never touch, so there is no y-intercept. There's an x-intercept, but not a y-intercept. So ladies and gentlemen, whenever you have a vertical line, the slope will always be undefined, and there will be no y-intercept. Here are your 2 checkpoint questions. So I'm going to ask you to complete the checkpoint questions on the next slide, label the slope and the y-intercept, and share them with your math instructor. So take a moment to pause the instructional video and jot down the 2 equations, x equals -1, y equals 0. Go ahead and create tables, graph your lines, and calculate the slope and the y-intercept of both of these lines. When you're finished, you'll need to check them in with your math teacher. Good luck.